I have no idea what I'm calling this this podcast. I think I call it the Paulhammer Podcast, but I kind of want to do each one as like whoever the guest is. It's based on there, so this one could be like the Scared Cast, the Scarred Cast, because it's Halloween.
Ooh, spooky
Drukhari.
Halloween. Spooky Drukhari. Pray they don't take you alive.
Yeah,
you really don't want them to take you alive.
The spookiest episode with a cartoon character and one of the nicest people in the 40k tournament community.
Stab.
Oh, the Dark King.
Welcome on to this episode of, I'll call it the Paulhammer Podcast, it might be called the Scared Cast, but either way, my guest today is none other than Skari from the Scarred Cast. He's waving, he's painting because he's a busy man, as he's got plenty to do.
Thanks to do.
How's it going, Skari? You right?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on the this podcast. Casts, talkcast.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah. We're just going to chat about Warhammer, probably. We never know. He might end up talking about who knows what.
Could be whatever.
If you don't know Skari is on YouTube Scarred Cast. He is the best Drukhari player in the world. He's currently, if I'm right, your second in the world overall, according to the ITC rankings.
Unless somebody dethroned me after this weekend.
Yeah. So as of when I said this and when I looked it up, you are second. I am not. I am just somewhere in the 5,000th area. So,
well, the 18 Centurion meta is just around the corner.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've been playing with these Centurions for a long time, and the 9 Centurion meta has arrived, and I feel very smug about it. But it does mean that my Centurions are going to get nerfed.
You had a hand in it, sir. You had a hand in it.
Yeah, it's definitely all me, and absolutely not the fact that the new Raven Guard thing is just amazing for Centurions, and Centurions have always been broken.
Yeah, always. I actually remember back in was it 6th or 7th edition, Centurions were like a thing. And like you'd put like a couple of them in a land, like the assault Centurions were like a big thing. And I remember a couple of friends running a big brick of Centurions out of like a Land Raider Crusader, and they had like flamers so they could overwatch you, and they had like crazy strength 10 power fists, so they're really good at like instant deathing things that were T5. Anyway, they've been around for a while, so
yeah. And Devastate Centurions at the moment are the ones. But I still think Assault Centurions are good. I have a big block of 6 again with the Flamers and the big fists, and they're tough to get through because they're such a weird profile. But yeah, it's because Uriel Ventress used to be the thing, like near the start of 10th.
For the Deep Strike?
For the Deep Strike, and obviously then they removed that ability. And when they removed that ability, they buffed the Centurion Devastator points massively, which helped me because I was the only other person using the bloody things. But that does mean that now people have realised that, yeah, you can still just teleport them and put them at the edge of the board rather than Deep Strike because they have infinite range. Oh yeah, we should probably use those.
Nice. Yeah, especially on like UKTC, right? Where UKTC you have like the edges of the board tend to be rather open on some of the layouts, which allows you to sort of like come in on the edge, and it gives you like really nice lines of sight, like all the way down the board. If you're not used to that format, I'm sure something like that could really kind of catch you off guard. Yeah, in a way. So.
There was one game I had where, because I have a big block of 6 and 2 squads of 3, I actually managed to get all 12 of them in massive sight lines, like crisscrossing all over the place.
Amazing.
But speaking of that, because obviously you mentioned that's kind of the UKTC stuff, we were both at the London GT, and then you immediately went from there to the LVO, the Las Vegas Open, which I'm sure was a fun trip to go back to back.
It was great, actually. I had a lot of fun. I've been able to really travel a lot this year. I got a sponsor on board, like a good friend Dan from the Red Dragon, and he in Ottawa. It's like a store in Ottawa, but him and I like known each other for years. And I just kind of walked up to him and was like, hey, you have a like a marketing budget. What if I was your marketing budget?
Yeah.
And so I was able, I've been very fortunate to be able to travel to like so many big events this season, more than I would ever be able to do just on my own volition. Yeah. And so being able to do that trip, like LGT, LVO, insane. I didn't know how my body was going to react.
I was going to ask, like, both your mind and body must have been knackered after that.
So I'm a kind of person that really likes routine, so I keep a very tight schedule, and I tend to do the same thing every day, every week, barring a few like extenuating circumstances, with like things that might change. But I try to keep, even like an international trip like that, it has its like it still has like a method to it, from like how I like to travel or the music I listen to, or like how I try and make sure I, eat food, and like keep relatively healthy and whatnot while I'm traveling or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff I've put in place to help me with like crazy, like shift changes or not shift changes, but like hour changes and
the
like
time zone
daylight,
stuff,
the time zone changes and stuff like that. And so far, it's worked. A couple of things I did was I when I travel, I like taking like a multivitamin every day, and I like doing like I take like an immune booster, like
Right.
vitamin D and C and stuff, which means that like I went to LVO and LGT and I didn't get sick,
Nice.
which was awesome. Didn't get the con crud.
Yeah.
And also travel with melatonin, which if I'm having trouble like falling asleep, just like a like a melatonin to kind of help trick my brain into like it's sleepy time.
Yeah.
Instead of like because I don't really like crazy chemically like sleeping pills or anything like that.
No.
So anyway, so far it's been working, and I sleep as soon as I fall asleep. I'm like out cold. Nothing can wake me up. It's crazy.
Yeah. And if you at home follow those exact instructions, you too will be the best Drukhari player in the world.
That's right. People pay for that information.
Yeah, there you go. Right here, it's for. Actually, no. What I'll do is I'll cut that entire section out and just say you must give Skari all of your money to find this information. just a big blocker over the screen.
Bleep it out. Just have my little voice.
I'll do a terrible impression of you. It just says like all the worst advice. It's like if you unlock the good advice by going to. Dear.
Compilation of all the crappiest advice that's not behind a paywall.
Yeah, and when you're at a tournament, make sure to stand up constantly. Don't ever sit down.
That's right. 100%.
Eat like
Don't
crap.
Eat food. Fasting is the way of the game. Just wake up as late as possible. Don't get like show up 5 minutes late to your round.
Yeah, no food, no water. Enter a fugue state and hope the weekend goes well.
Wake up and everything will have been fine.
So, what do you mean I went 5-0? Oh god, what happened?
Oh man, how did I win that tournament? Trick your brain until a big brick of Centurion. Show up 5 minutes late to your round. Stab, and I will die on that hill.
So in terms of obviously the differences between something like UKTC and LVO, I've only ever really played on UKTC style stuff because I'm in the UK and can't be asked to travel that far. So what kind of differences really are there in terms of kind of the meta and the way that things work between the kind of US and UK or maybe other tournaments that you've been to?
Well, every single region is a little different. I've had luckily enough, I've been to a lot of different tournament formats. I play for the Canadian national team, so I've been to the WTC and ETC like 4 or 5 times now. So there's like that's a whole other format and how that works. Not only team events, but like the level of play and how it's organized, which gives you a good contrast or the ability to compare all the different styles. But like UKTC is its own sort of like bubble, from the way that they FAQ certain things, like vehicles being able to like hang off the edge of the table, to like the terrain format, which is very unique. And I did find that a lot of the armies that I saw there and that did well were very much designed for that format with people that have like played on that format multiple times. Mainly if you push up your left flank, you can see right into your opponent's staging area, which means things like that Storm Raven that moves really fast and things like that their value goes way up because they can just like fly up the board and see right into like the ruin that in the middle where you're trying to like stage things from, and everything dies if that gets past you, right? All the way to having like a big block of say fights first that can sit behind that ruin and just threaten anything that comes anywhere near it, right? With either heroic intervention or just be protected so you can't like get charged by stuff like in that level zone. So things like, for example, Drukhari in the index, Sky Serpent, Sacco, they all had like the core of the Archons, right, which are big fight first bricks as an example. And I kind of moved away from those mainly because the Codex wasn't going to have them, so I didn't want to feel used to still using a unit I didn't have access to. But also because in my meta, like things like mortars and Genius to the Cult with like out-of-line of sight shooting and Tempest launchers and things are very popular, which means that a big unit like that just gets picked up by indirect fire.
Yeah.
Right. And so But in that format specifically, with the meta that you folks have, which is there's not a lot of indirect, because you can just use movement to kind of see behind ruins instead of having to sit and kind of shoot stuff behind. So it was just different. As for LVO, it's all GW layouts, but the ruins are a little different than what you see at a GW official event, like the GW Opens, in the sense that they're all like the frontline gaming, like MDF, like terrain layouts. Some of them are very similar to GW stuff, but some are like their own sort of like things that they made.
Right.
So the ruins might be bigger or smaller and things like that. But GW layouts are pretty standard where I come from. And in my opinion, way more balanced than any of the other formats. Like more balanced than UKTC, more balanced than WTC. Because they allow a lot of different army archetypes to sort of like flourish.
Yeah.
But going from one to the other is fine. My armies are usually table agnostic, so I can kind of play whatever format with my army. And it's just a matter of just like trying to leverage my skill set on the table.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm only used to the UKTC stuff and I guess some GW terrain. It's interesting to hear about how much that affects stuff. And like with the team stuff, I haven't done a team event yet. So I think I'm doing one next year. But my understanding with the team events is obviously some of the maps are different because you kind of draft off which maps you want to actually use.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So there are maps. They do usually depends on the size of the team. But if you have eight players on a team, you have 4 what are called medium maps. Then you have 2 light maps and 2 heavy maps. Now, don't let the name fool you. Heavy just means that there are 6 big ruins, like big 3-decker ruins.
Right.
And whereas light is like there are 2 3-decker ruins. So like the size of the ruins change. But in terms of density, there's all the same density WTC. It's 10 big footprints, right? However, the thing that's most important with that is, can you hold objectives while being hidden? Or do you have to be out in the open to hold objectives, right? Like that's one of the biggest issues with that. So you can build a list being like, I'm going to run, 18 Devastator Centurions. And I'm going to pick the table where nobody can hide on an objective behind a wall and that's my table.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to wait till you get on any objective and then blow you up.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So there's some strategy with that for sure.
Yeah, I've already told the team that I'm going to be going to whatever it is next year that I'm taking 18 Centurions no matter what.
Love it.
And I will be the fall guy. If you got a bad matchup or a bad map, shove me on there and I'll just go haywire and I'll just block something for you.
You'll take you'll take the bus.
Yeah.
Right. You'll be bust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. In terms of, because obviously you mentioned, like, I think for both LVO and LGT were the index Drukhari, right? The Codex hadn't come out at that point.
There was the last hurrah.
Yeah. So obviously the Codex is now out. I've picked it up because when I rejoined Warhammer, that was my first army. It is still mostly unpainted, unfortunately. But from what I read of the Codex, it looks really, really good or really interesting.
There's a lot of rules, and it can be very overwhelming for anybody who reads that Codex and goes, all I see are pages of rules.
Yeah, and the Raider has about as many rules as a Primarch, which is very funny. It's simple once you kind of get it right, because it's just like for each type of witch cult, cabal or coven, they have their own rule depending. But it is still, you look at a Raider and go, why has that got so many words? Once you kind of get past the whole information overload, it's a lot easier to sort of like keep track of and be like, oh look, it's really just, do you stick in an objective? Do you kind of like advance and charge better, or do you make witches get out, or are you making your racks fight from inside, right? Like it's not too much to think about. But I find that, as an avid Drukhari player, you could putting it lightly. Somewhat into Drukhari.
Somewhat, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Yeah. I found it a lot of fun because it's like, look, Skari, you get every rule in the game that you ever wanted, right? But if you take every rule in the game, you're just gonna lose, right? So it's like you have to try not to do everything when playing with Drukhari. You have to like pick and choose the rules you want. the ones that are going to like help you say win a game. And I think that's the hard part, is like, which rule do you decide to use and which rule do you decide to leave at home? And if you try to do everything, that's bad, but you can kind of pick and choose the ones you want to help you sort of like play the game the way you want to play. And the new detachments really add to the versatility of the faction, because you can really get into it where, now you can really what we call skew lists, right? Where you can kind of build lists that are a little bit more focused on something. And I think that's very healthy for a faction. And Drukhari just kind of really do that well now.
Yeah. It feels like there's a lot of, because I was looking at the witch cult stuff, because one of the first things I did when I started Drukhari was buy 20 Hellions, because Hellions are really cool.
They're so cool.
Yeah,
and they're so good now.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I looked at it, I was like, Hellions seem really good, especially in the witch cult detachment.
The will cult.
They
will it to be.
Yeah.
Better than the Fred cult.
Yeah. Ugh. Who wants to be in the Fred
cult? Yeah, very gross.
Horrible. Yeah, it just looks really interesting. It does also seem like it's one of those ones, because the way with the power from pain, or the pain token stuff works now, where you don't have to, at the start of a phase, choose where you're spending them. You spend them as you use them. It feels like it could be very snowbally. Like, if you can get that going, it will be like, I'm going to spend one to kill something and get one back, and then spend that to kill something and get it back, and then just keep cycling it over and over. It does seem like a really cool codex.
You use a Chronos to good effect. I think one of the things is that the codex leaked, right? And and I had to like bite my tongue for like so many weeks to be like, just be patient. Please be patient. I couldn't say anything about it or talk about it or engage in the leaks. And but then when it came out, it's like people started like realizing, oh, look, like we thought pain tokens were going to be an issue, but they're not really, because yes, they cascade, like you get that one pain token, and that one pain token could lead to a kill, and then you get one pain token, and that helps you get a second kill, and then you get another pain token. And it's very, like, the mechanic just works so much better than it did in the index.
Yeah.
And it's so much more user friendly, where you can just kind of play the turn as it lies, rather than having to like pre-plan everything, which was like kind of tough sometimes, especially against armies like Custodes, where like, well, if you don't kill something, you don't get pain tokens. And that was rough.
Yeah, when the leaks came out, it seemed all very doom and gloom. But I was looking at it going, it's not. I feel like people are, well, they do the thing they do on the internet, which is overreact, and negativity rises to the top, right? I know, crazy to think about, but negativity on the internet is the thing that, it looks like a very cool codex. Is there anything in the codex that you think either was a miss, or is there something else you'd like in there that you think is not as good, or do you think are you happy with? Or are you either happy with what you got, or are you like, it doesn't really matter? I've got what I've got, and I'm just going to work with what it is.
Like, look at the end, like there's. Of course, I can look at something and be like, I wish I had this, I wish I had that, right? That's just human nature, I guess. At the end of the day, what am I allowed to use when I go to tournaments? Well, what I have in the codex, right? So dooming about, the fact that we lost like our legend units and things like that. I'm looking, like, I have a table. I'm going through my collection, kind of going through like list builds and seeing what I can kind of build and kind of develop or whatnot. And looking at it, I'm like, man, like so much on this table is now legends. I've got like grotesques that I converted, and I've got my courts. I've got like 2 courts of the Archon. I've got 2 full beast packs. I've got Urien Rakarth. You know what I mean? I've got 2 Tantalus. I have 2 Reapers. I have a Raven Strike Fighter. Like all these really cool units. Luckily, I also play a lot of Crusade and narrative games, right? So so I can supplement my crazy amount of competitive gaming with like some really fun like pickup games with friends, or with like a Crusade League or whatever. So I do get to use the things that I invested money and time into. Right. So I have a bit of an outlet, but some folks don't. So in terms of that, I'm a little annoyed, right, that they decided to like take a lot of these units and go, you know what, you can't use these anymore. Instead of being like, well, why don't we just say, hey, until we can replace them or do something, hey, you can use them. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. However, you know what they did, Paul? They gave them the coolest rules in the Legends document.
That's insane. Like, they had the rules.
The rules are so effing good. Like, they just made all of those units so much better.
I looked at that, I was like, it's almost like they were like, okay, we made the rules, and then someone went, we're putting the legends, like, but we made them good. We made people and stuff. Fine. I mean, they've been unavailable for a while, but the thing is with Drukhari is
Sure.
But the problem with Drukhari is that's such a I feel like out of all the armies, all the things in 40k, saying I can't get that for Drukhari, it doesn't really matter because Drukhari are the most kit bashable army in the world. I think I couldn't stop making Archons and Succubi just because you find any parts, put them together, maybe put a Incubi helmet on and go, oh whoops, I've made another Archon. They're just so easy to kit bash.
They're a kit bashable and convertible faction, right? And it's one of those things where, I think it don't get me wrong, I do feel like Drukhari in and of itself is a bit of a if you had to go to a model shop and buy like a model kit for like an airplane or a boat, it'd be like expert level kit, whatever, in the sense that it can also be overwhelming from a hobby perspective to be like, oh, it says I need to have 4 of the same weapon for this unit of Scourge or whatever. It's like, but the kit only comes with X amount, like me as an avid Drukhari player, I'm like, oh, I just cut off this bit here and glue this bit over here and ta-da, 4 Dark Lances from my Scourge, whatever it is. Whereas like a new player might be like, oh, when I bought my Space Marine kit, it came with exactly what I needed to build my Space Marines. And so when you look at things like grotesques or whatever, it's like, oh, well, I can't buy this kit. It's in the Codex. I really want to use it. Like, how the heck do I make that happen?
Yeah.
And I guess I understand from a business perspective, it's just easier to be like, oh, it's just not in the Codex, right?
Yeah.
But for us, like loyal players that have been playing the faction forever, it's just like a kick in the gonads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My solution for the Scourges was just buy 4 boxes of Scourges because they're actually kind of value-wise, they're not too bad. And then you just give each one...
they're really good.
Each one, you just give one type of weapon and go, I don't really know what a Dark Lance looks like anyway. So they all have Dark Lances. Good luck.
That is the most normal way of doing it.
Yeah.
I think that is a very healthy way of doing it. I am definitely none of those. I'm neither healthy nor normal. So I have magnetized every single shoulder on every Scourge that I own.
Yeah.
I also own 20.
Nice.
But I have 3 sets of Scourge that I've painted. I have 1 that I need to paint of 5. I love that they did the carbine Scourge because now I have a unit that's just carbines, and then I have 2 with guns. But I have like 12 Dark Lances that I can put them all on. I've got 8 Haywires. I've got all the Shredders, all the Blasters, and I just pulled a gun off and put it on. Which, by the way, is great for Crusade because there's a little requisition thing you can use called rearm and resupply before you like play a game. Be like, re-equip your unit for like a requisition. I'm like, ooh, I'm playing against Space Marines. You're all getting this gun. Ooh, I'm playing against Knights. You're all getting this gun. It's really useful in Crusade.
Yeah, and then when the Crusade is really looking spicy, you go, whoa, 2 Tantalite upon thee, and then just throw 2 Tantaluses at them.
With rapid fire for some reason for their super cannon. I was like, it's so
all
good.
of the shots. I was looking at the Crusade rules for Drukhari, and they look really fun. They look really silly.
They are.
I love the fact that like it basically just goes, oh, your Archon's too good. Well, Vex gets you.
Makes him disappear.
But
yeah.
I think people kind of were like, oh, so I've built up this really good Archon and then suddenly disappears. But you can just get Archons and like other leaders just randomly by taking over their areas and then just be like, okay, you're my Archon now, and he gets like 60 experience straight away. So you can have like so many backup Archons and stuff. It's really cool. I definitely should give it a go.
The whole mechanic of you're going to real space to just build an empire for yourself in the Dark City, right? Which I really like. So like that mechanic, and they just kind of made it more flavorful with like, okay, so you're taking over these territories, but these territories aren't just like owned by no one. Like somebody already owns these territories. Like you're gonna have to fight them for it.
Yeah.
And I really like that they've added a little like extra dynamic to it. Crusade is a very fun way to play, and I think it's also one of the reasons I am a good competitive player. Is I play a lot of Crusade, and I will die on that hill. Like if you want to get good at competitive play crazy asymmetric missions for narrative and Crusades to learn how to problem solve,
right,
and think on your feet.
Yeah, think
on your toes.
I do like Crusade, but I haven't played it in a little while. All I really remember from Crusade is there's some crazy stuff in there, including my friend who had a loan-up Knight Despoiler with battle cannons, which just meant you had to get to within 12 inches of him, and he had these souped up like rapid fire battle cannons. I was like, great. And then the battle scars are always funny because my Centurion's got a battle scar, which was they can't be led by characters.
Okay.
They can't anyway, so that's good news.
They can't.
That's a nothing. And then my Vanguard veterans got you can't advance and charge anymore, and also you have OC 0. Great. Okay, I've just lost the entire point of that unit. So it does get very, very silly. But yeah, some of the stuff you can do. I mean, and I see your point. I never really thought about it before. Yeah, the fact that you can use that as a problem solving for potentially very skewed, not in your favor games is actually quite an interesting thing.
It does that, and it also sort of like encourages you to use, say, units or elements of a faction that you might not see because someone on the internet that's standing on a soapbox tells you like it's good and or bad, right? You'd be like, oh, this unit sucks, or this unit is so good, I use it every time, right? So I get the opportunity to go, you know what? I never get to use this unit because it might be like doesn't fit into my lists mainly for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. But then you put it in a Crusade and you start going, oh, you know what? I kind of like this weird combo I thought up of, like this unit with this character and this enhancement, which I would never use normally. All of a sudden, I'm like, it's not terrible. Like it's got its uses or whatever. And it just gives you more perspective without the pressure of like, I have 5 rounds to play and I need to make sure I'm not like making a fool out of myself, that sort of thing.
And you've got to, I guess, with your competitive list, they had to be very fine-tuned to get everything you need for in terms of like stuff like objectives and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like enough units to do stuff. Yeah, like press buttons and get around the table. And you're trying to build a list that has like elements like infiltrate, scout, uppy, downy, sticky. Like there's all these like key elements to building a good competitive list that can play specifically, chapter approved match play tournament companion games, which is like this very like niche way of playing the game.
Yeah. There's a lot of kind of boundaries, right, where you have to play in that specific space. So you can't go too far away from that. You kind of have to play in that space when you're making the lists, which is when I'm doing my 18 Centurion stuff. It's like essentially half of my list is gone. It's 18 Centurions, and the puzzle I'm enjoying. Obviously, there's a lot more to competitive play, but in terms of learning a lot more. But part of the puzzle I'm enjoying is how do I make the other half of my list work in a way that one is still funny to be able to pull my tray out and go, here's half my army and just throw 18 Centurions at someone. But also not just be like, okay, here's my gimmick, you're going to win.
Right, exactly. You still want to be able to play the game, right? Which is a really cool. And I think, what you're doing is, I think, the right way of playing Warhammer, and you can take that quote to the bank. Okay. That is because you are going with a concept, something you love, and then what you're doing is you play games, you test it. Like might not be what most people would consider the most competitive way to say play your faction or the units that you have or whatever. But number one, you enjoy it, right? Number two, you're still putting elements in there that kind of like help you play the game. And then what you're doing is you're putting the table, like you're putting the army on the table and playing the game and actively being a participant in developing that concept. Whereas so like there's a culture I find within the youngsters amongst us, which is like, oh, I'm just going to take this list that did really well and I'm just going to use that because it's a list that somebody else has done all the work on. It's like AI.
Yeah.
You're just stealing other people's ideas, which is, don't get me wrong, copying a list and using it, fine. But you have to, like, in order for it to work for you, you really need to make it your own, whether it's taking a unit that you enjoy or something that vibes with you. And Paul, you're making your own meta, right? You're like, this is what I want to do. And I can leverage what I like to do by just playing the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's missions. So I'm just going to do these missions, but I get to do whatever I want, which is play with a bunch of Centurions. And that's how I make every list. For the longest time, people looked at my list and were like, Void Raven Bomber, what the hell does that do? Right? Oh, only 3 transports in a Sky Splinter Assault list. How does that work?
Yeah.
And but it's about kind of going for it.
Yeah.
Right? And just, and then playing the mission.
Yeah, I've said this a lot on streams and videos. It's like if you gave me your list, like a list that you've won tournaments with, and said here is a tournament, it's a tournament winning list. Here you go, Paul. I would lose every game because I don't know what it does. I don't know how it's meant to work. I know what probably know what each of the units does, but I don't know how it's played. This is a concept that it's not a Warhammer exclusive thing, like you say with AI and stuff, but even just like video games, people will go, oh, the meta is this character to play, so I'm going to play with this character. If you don't know how that character works, you're going to fall apart. However, if you just go, I like this character, you'll learn how to play them and beat all the other people who are chasing meta, especially because the majority of people are kind of my level, right? Where something like 80 Centurions might trip you up because you've not seen it before, but also if you're just learn with whatever you have, you can always probably do better than someone who's coming in fresh with a list they don't know what they're doing with. You see what I mean? Yeah. I mean, obviously there is, if I gave you my list and I got your list, you would probably win even if you didn't really know how to play with 80 Centurions. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the point is like there's obviously game knowledge and the way to play the game that is kind of universal, right? There's universal concepts that you can leverage, which I probably don't have as much knowledge of. But two people at the same skill level, the one who has got more practice with their list and knows what they're doing is going to do better.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I always when I coach clients on, playing competitively or whatever, one of the main skills is sort of like learning how to play with like your list. And developing how to develop a list, build a list, and then leverage your knowledge about that list to then just get better and better as you go. And the way to illustrate it is, Warhammer is a game that has so many variables, right? From list building, list unit combinations within lists, to enhancements used, to war gear chosen, to, you name it, right? Like there are so many moving pieces when building a Warhammer army, right? Not only that, but then you have all of the things that make it unique in terms of table that you play on, right? What round of the event it is, because in the first round of the event you're more likely to run into anybody. As you go, you say you win, the people who you play against will have more experience. If you don't do so well, the people who you play against will probably have less experience. And so that is a variable. How you're feeling that day. Did you sleep well? Did you have good breakfast? That's a variable. One of the only things you can keep as a constant in Warhammer is your army list. So it's like having a common denominator by which you can, do the math. And sort of like if you have a common denominator, you can more easily identify how the variables will affect your common denominator. So the more experience you have with the same list, the more you're going to, have like an understanding of, okay, this is either a good, bad matchup, or a good or bad mission, or a good and bad deployment, or whatever it is. And then you will know how your army will react to this, and therefore have a better understanding of how to sort of like get yourself out of it or move through it or past it or whatever, right? And you can't do that if you're constantly changing a list or if you just copy paste something and go, this is supposed to work because, John Lennon won a tournament with it or whatever. And
the thing with that is you're taking a list like that and kind of throwing yourself at it, you're not really going to understand. The only way you understand the parts is if you just kind of smash your head against the wall over and over with the list that you've taken, while if you're going in with a list that you've made, you've already had in your head, like this part of my list was doing this part of my list is doing the objectives, this part is going to do the killing. You've already have that there, rather than just grabbing a list and going, okay, here's 2,000 points of stuff. Some of it will do objectives, some of it will do killing, but I don't know which one's which until I start, unless I have to read up that. But it's kind of that experience, and I've noticed that myself in playing with the 80 Centurions is I did it on a whim for the Southwest Super Major. I just went, I want to play 80 Centurions and I want to get 2 repulsors. So I did that, and then over time I was like, okay, let's start taking a repulsor out and adding some stuff. And eventually I'm now at the list I am now, which has no repulsors, it's all infantry. And the only change I've made from the London GT was combining my 2 squads of 3 assault Centurions together, and I think swapping some jump pack instead of Vanguard vets. I think that's basically it. I'm at the point now where my list is very static, and that's because I've identified the parts, right?
Exactly. You identify the parts, you put the work in, the effort in, and you've taken the licks. You know what I mean? Like you've gone through the good, the bad, and the ugly with it, right? But now when you put that board on that army on the table, you are at an advantage against similarly skilled opponents. Simply because your list is sort of like handcrafted and you have experience with it, right? And don't get me wrong, we play a dice game, right? So at the end of the day, like anything can happen. You could roll, secondaries that you draw terrible or whatever that game, or that 6-inch charge that you need to do failed twice with a reroll. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, it is what it is. But you at least you've done everything you can under your control, which is build a list, tweak it, play it, develop it, master it, and now you're in that process of just putting it on the table and playing with it.
Yeah. But the last thing I need to work on for me is I have a tendency to have the devil on my shoulder go, wouldn't it be funny though if you split fired and got both the Rogald Dawn and a Lehman Russ in one turn, and then getting neither and going, well, that was silly. There's still that part.
But
you know,
it's silly.
Yeah.
You know it's silly, right? But that's the thing. That's the difference between like you just playing to have a good time, or someone, you know, who's just playing to like to be super calculated, right? And wants to sort of like make the most hyper efficient like choices. So that's I guess where like the discipline of playing or trying to perform competitively in my example, it's like I know that I don't want to split fire, so I won't, right? But that's just because I'm trying to win the tournament, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So even though I have like a weird like a weird esoteric army list that I've developed over time, you know, and I've been shadow boxing under a bridge against the meta or whatever, right? You know, I'm like, yes, I'm going to shoot. You have one Space Marine with one wound left. This entire unit of Scourge is shooting at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I am not taking a chance. This guy needs to die. He's just going to die.
Yeah.
Right?
We said it's a dice game, so the less chances you can take, the better, because the dice can and will screw you. And it's one of those ones, I think, where, for me, like, obviously I'm trying to win, but at the end of the day, and again, this is something that I think when people think of tournament players, they think of, they're just, tryhards trying to win. But no, like, the game with that example where we split fired, both of us were doing silly stuff because we were having just such a good time. Both of us, like,
correct.
I think he had a Sly Marbo, he's going to try and charge into my Phobos Lieutenant. He failed the charge.
Amazing.
So I went, okay, I'll charge you back on my turn. And then I whiffed in melee.
We'll have a duel.
Yeah. We had a duel. I whiffed in melee. He killed it, but allowed him to consolidate onto a point. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I should have done that, but also very funny.
Very fun. Good storytelling, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing, is especially when you get to a point, I think everybody that goes to tournaments should try and be keenly aware of sort of like where they stand at the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, one person is going to win. Everybody else is going to lose, right? So like, why take it so seriously? You know what I mean? Just at that point, like, especially once you're in a position where you're like, oh, I'm not gonna like get to the shadow round, or I'm not gonna, get to the sort of like the third day or whatever it is. Then just have some fun. We play with little toy soldiers. You might as well just enjoy your time with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for you being, very top of the ICT rankings, that's, things to work for. But the rest of us, like me, who's, 5,000th plus, it doesn't matter. Like, my record at the LGT was 2-3, right? It could have been anything, or the Winchester, the one day I did at Winchester, which I went 1-2. Like, that could have been 2-1. It doesn't really matter, but as long as the game was fun, and as long as I know that's the mistake I made, like, it doesn't. The record at the end of the day doesn't matter that much to me. Obviously, it matters more to someone in your position. And
well, to be honest, I lost my first game at the LGT. You know what I mean? So like, I went there with the whims of doing as best I could and potentially getting into the top card and kind of like having my hand at potentially trying to win it. And then I lost my first game. It just is what it is. Like, you go in, you do your best, you play the game. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but it doesn't mean like I was gonna be bummed out about it all weekend.
No, exactly.
At that point, I still played my heart out and did the best I could with the games I had, and I just made sure that like I'm there to like meet and greet and hang out, and like I got to meet you, which is fantastic, right? And I got to meet so many awesome people, and that's so like you just have to learn to just kind of shift your perspective and just be there for the human aspect and element. You know what I mean? And not just. Like, winning a game of toy soldiers is so fleeting at best. That the people you meet along the way and the folks that you run into and the sort of the memories you make, I'm never gonna forget like how one of my Beast Pack masters killed a demon prince with his little splinter thingy, right? Took the last wound off of a Slanesh demon prince in my last game of the LGT. Like, that's just a story that I'm going to like remember forever.
The person I feel sorry for is probably your second round opponent going, oh, okay, I've gone 0-1. It's fine. We'll go into the the loser bracket. Who's my next opponent? Archon Skari, great, great news.
We had a good time. There were many prisoners taken back to the Dark City.
Nice, yeah. But the LVO, you came top 8, is that right? The end?
Yes, yeah. I ended up losing. I lost my last round into Ben Jurek, who I was staying at his house, actually. The very close game. It was on stream on War Games Live, if you want to watch that. But because LVO was less than 500 people, or it was about 500 people, the top 16, I made the top 16 for the shadow round, and then I was able to win the shadow round to get myself back into the top 8, and then get knocked out by Deathwatch again. That's 2 LVOs in a row.
Oh.
Oh
dear.
No, and it was so close again too. It was 6 points or 4.3 points or something. Oh my gosh!
If only those challenger cards were there, you could have.
No, good riddance to the challenger cards, especially for a competitive event.
Yeah. I only got to try challenger cards once, and it never kind of was it never came up as being something that was actually going to change the game. But yeah, I can see why it was a bit of an annoyance.
From a team perspective, challenger let me preface this with this: challenger cards are the best catch-up mechanic that they made.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They were used all the time. Number one, unlike say secret missions or the gambits, right? Which were number one, I won a GT on a gambit. Number two, secret missions, if you remember at the beginning of the secret missions, they were way busted because you could go second and then score 50 points on turn, going last on the last turn, which was insane because you could score your challenger card, all the primary points and your secondary points in a single turn. So they had to tweak that pretty fast. But then challenger cards are a great concept. Hey, you're under, gives you a chance to kind of get ahead or try catch up a little bit. So it was a catch up mechanic that did that. The thing is, the balancing factor is just a little tough to balance.
Yeah.
When a lot of the times the challenger card went to the person who was losing in points, but had a clear positional advantage on the table where they were going to win anyway. And they were just getting cards to win even better.
Yeah.
Or draw a card and go, ooh, this stratagem, which is free, allows my Khorne Berserkers to go 20 inches? What?
Yeah.
Through walls and all this stuff, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it was either the fact that it would be given to the person who didn't need it, or if you got it, it wasn't going to help you win. You're already too far behind. It definitely was the best one they've done. It's the most interesting. I'd like to see an iteration on it, maybe, but yeah, it's definitely a weird one.
You just need a tweaking, but I think at the end of the day, I guess it's what we've done 10th edition for 3 years now. So instead of just putting a whole bunch of work and effort into tweaking that version of the catch-up mechanic, they're you know what, let's just shelve it.
Yeah. Because if
just don't use it for competitive play or whatever.
If they're doing updates every 3 months, it's okay, we'll try this permutation for 3 months. Oh, that didn't quite work. Okay, we'll change it for this for another, and then it would just be, by the time they've actually found the perfect balance, it'll be 11th edition or whatever's next. So yeah, not much point in doing that. I had another question. Now I can't remember it.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you.
Oh, go on.
Yeah. If you could make a Centurion to your specifications, what would it be? A Centurion unit, to your specs, rules, data sheets, special rules, abilities. What would a Centurion do in Paul's world?
You may be surprised to hear I get this question a lot.
Oh, cool. Well, I just want you to air it to everyone.
Yeah, I've got for the Screaming Ravens, I've got the concepts for my custom supplement that I'm working on. It has a few characters in there. I'm always very hesitant to put characters into Centurion units because I just look at, let's say you make a Centurion Lieutenant, and then suddenly you're giving Centurions lethal hits. So you go, okay, that's starting to get a bit scary. The thing is with Centurions is I find that both, with the combination of the Assault and the Devastate, you've kind of got everything covered. You've got anti-tank, anti-infantry, good in melee for the Assault ones. There's no anti-infantry melee one, but realistically, I mean, flamers and the missiles from the devs are going to sort that out. I had the concept of essentially a meteor Centurion unit, which can deep strike and charge out of, deep strike and charge into melee, kill whatever's there, and then they have a movement of 1. So essentially they come down, they kill something and clear an area, and then they just become a turret and just have to shoot their way out after that point. Just because I think it'd just be funny to have these giant hulking things just either jumping out of a Storm Raven or coming in from Deep Strike, just slamming into something, taking the space and just going, okay, now we have to just stand here and shoot. Because the thing with the Centurions is,
or get back into the Storm Raven.
Or get back into the Storm Raven. I kind of like the idea of them literally just being a one shot. Like once they're out the Storm Raven, that's it. They don't go back. They're there now.
They're a turret.
They're essentially a walking turret. Because that's what they are. Yeah, I think because Centurions have, especially in Shadowmark Talon,
Hammerfall Centurions.
They have so much stuff from both versions. You kind of have everything covered. Yeah, I guess the only other one is kind of a melee, an infantry melee one. So like having big
power
chain
swords or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Swords. Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you what. Lightning claws. Centurions with lightning claws. That is jump pack Centurions with lightning claws. There you go.
Jump pack Centurions.
Yeah, so they go 5 inches.
You went from like really slow to like the fastest Centurions in all of the land.
Yeah, I mean this is the thing I'm sure you've worked out by me. It's either one extreme or the other extreme. My entire army is either 4 inches or 12 inches of movement. That's it. Very little in between of those two things. Or if they do go less than 12 inches, usually they're deep striking or reserving in. So it's just
at least there's no gray area. You're just like, what does this unit do? Oh, I know exactly what this unit is meant for.
This unit fast, this unit slow.
Yes.
It's very easy for me to kind of conceptualize.
Yeah, there's no duality of purpose. It's like you are not Schrodinger's Centurion. You are a single Centurion that just does its one thing and does it very well.
Yeah, you have a weird profile that has some weird breakpoints that everyone seems to hate because you're toughness 7, you're 4 wounds, so all the damage 3 stuff is annoying. You know, strength 12 doesn't go down to 2s.
I see a really cool conversion with like the Grey Knight, little teleporty arrays that they use for the Inceptors or whatever.
Oh yeah,
you could actually have like them. You could convert them to have like little teleporty things from the Grey Knight kit.
Yeah,
right, like little antennas that they have on their backpacks.
That'd be cool,
or whatever. And then you'd be like, ooh, look, instead of jump packs, they're just teleporty Centurions. They just like quick button teleport.
The other character I want to make a Dreadnought character, which is I'm still trying to work out what would be best, but it's basically the Saturnine Dreadnought top half, and then either the Dunecrawler from Admech for the legs, or maybe like the front half of a Defiler. So it's basically like a 4-legged walking like Dreadnought character. I think
that's awesome.
The Admech ones might be a bit small. I need to kind of look into it, but it might be.
Well,
right.
the Saturnine, like that Saturnine Dreadnought is massive.
He's big. He's
a big chunky lad.
So it might be the bigger leg.
So, but the Dunecrawler is not small.
No,
like
that's the thing.
I think the Dunecrawler, I think it might actually fit quite nicely. Like the big box of the Dunecrawler, like where the crew is, I think that would be similar in size, and you could probably cut the legs and pose them to make it really kind of fit nicely. Yeah,
it's just the thickness of the legs compared to, because I think it would work with like a Redemptor, definitely. But it's the Saturnine that is a bit chunkier.
I think the Saturnine would go more with the theme of like big chunky.
Oh yeah,
you know, a little too inefficient. But still does its job.
Yeah, I've built the Saturnine Praetor, the Saturnine Terminator character. I've left the big shoulders off. They actually look cool without the big shoulders. But I gave him both melee weapons because having a giant hammer and a giant axe is just cool as hell. And he's about the right size. He's about the same size as a Terminator captain, so I might use him as a Terminator captain when I get some assault Terminators. So more lightning claws for the army.
Lightning claws, by the way, I remember when lightning claws came in vogue. It was like 4th edition, and like I used to always run my assault Terminator unit with twin lightning claws and a chaplain, and he would of course give them reroll all hits when he charged. And then of course lightning claws were all reroll wounds. So it was like the first instance of like full rerolls on rerolls, and that unit was just murderous. And I loved it.
Yeah, I love lightning claws. I was not annoyed, but it was a bit sad when I'd finally finished building my Vanguard veterans with all the custom lightning claws, and then they went heirloom weapons. I went, okay, they still count as lightning claws, but I'd like them to actually be lightning claws. So I'm looking forward to the Terminators. I guess question back to you then: if there's a Drukhari unit that you would the Archon Skari Drukhari unit that you would like to make, what would you create?
So in a couple of the books, one of the things I'd really like is tortured wraith constructs, because they grab like craft-willed wraith constructs and they torture them and make them like crazy pain-fueled like souls, that are inside of these like wraiths. So like a wraith knight, wraith guard, wraith lord, just like all evil and mean. because they're just like, tormented soul stones or whatever. And I'd really like aesthetically, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd like a beast pack return, but what they should really do is make it a Build-A-Bear beast pack.
Oh, right.
Where you could go, this is a Beastmaster. And then you go, okay, so you can have like so many medium-sized creatures, so many big creatures. And so you'd be like, I want a lobotomized Carnifex, right?
Oh.
Or I want, and that is my beast. Or I want some Fenrisian wolves. Or I want Thunderwolves that I've captured or whatever. And you could literally have like an esoteric beast pack from different factions that you can kind of mix and match to create like a cool, like, a menagerie, right? Yeah, of like just beasts from all over the universe, and be like, I have a Zote and an Amble or whatever, and that would be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. I remember the question I was going to ask earlier. Actually, it's around the human element of tournaments and going to have fun and stuff. And the one thing I think that people don't really see, although it did appear, I believe, in the final of the LGT, was kind of the way that intent works and takebacks and stuff. I feel like that's a very important thing for people to be aware of. Obviously, in my experience, I've now played, I think, according to my tabletop battles app, I've played 40 games.
Nice.
Not quite against 40 opponents, but I've had 0 bad games. And basically in all my games, there's a lot of, it's very much, play by intent, lots of good, allowing for takebacks, allowing for kind of being loose with it, because it's a very complicated game, right? And that needs a lot of,
There's a difference between loose and intent, and there's a between playing by intent and using intent to fix mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I guess from your perspective, having played a lot of games, like, is that something, because I know from the LGT final, it was something that was praised quite a lot with the Scourges being kind of seen. Where it's like, I know you meant them not to be seen, so just move them until you can get them out the way of, I think it was a Predator tank?
Yeah, there's Predators, and that's because they had a conversation the turn earlier where they were just like, oh, let's, don't forget I can bring my Predators on here. And they're, okay, cool, so I'm just going to put these here so your Predators can't see me or whatever, right? And they kind of had that conversation previously. Because they had that conversation, that's where that comes in. It's like you had played by intent, where like you go, yes, it's possible for me to hide here.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's physically possible, right? So I can do it. But then you don't have to be as like finicky about wings or whatever, and twinning, spinning models to make sure that like the profiles just like the light difference, because you can come to an agreement, be like, okay, so you shouldn't be able to see me. And then once the person moves, they're like, no, I can see you. So just shove them a little bit further that way or whatever, because you went through all that trouble earlier to be like, yes, I want to do this. Is it possible? That's the key part. Is first of all, is your intent possible, and do you state your intent? It's like driving. Like a good statement of intent and playing with intent is something that is expected, and I really like it at like, you'll see it all the time at the highest level of competition. Like what you saw at the LGT is not unusual. That's very common between very high level players, because you're not there to gotcha your opponent or to punish them for not spinning a model, right? To like see like a wing or something, when they clearly were having a conversation with you about wanting to be out of line of sight, which is like the main part of that process. Like if you just move a model and go, okay, I've done moving my models, and then you move on to something else and you don't say anything, and then I go, okay, I'm going to move my Predator here, I'm going to shoot you, and you go, oh, well, I would have intended to not be seen by your Predator. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
That is using intent as a fixing of a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? That's not really intent. The stated intent is, we have a conversation. Okay, how far can your Predator move? There. So this is the line you can see me in. Okay, so I don't want you to be able to see me that way. It's possible I can just shove them in here. Then you move the Predator and go, well, actually, I can see you. Okay, but you still had, say, some extra movement.
Yeah.
Like, you just shove them in there more. Like, you're good. We had this conversation. Does that make sense?
Oh, definitely. And especially because, obviously, it's a mini game, like a game with miniatures. The other thing is, if you're like me, I'm knocking terrain all the time. So if I put something in a certain place and knock the terrain, and then suddenly it's slightly different, then that shouldn't be punished, right? Yeah. I also think it's... From my perspective, it's like I don't play the game and kind of build the list and go to these tournaments to win because of a gotcha or because of like a silly mistake or something that my opponent didn't know. So in my last game at LGT, basically he wanted to basically move some stuff out of the way so he could get one of his impulsors to essentially suicide mission for some points. He was like, I'm going to throw away this cheap impulsor to try and start doing stuff over here. And he moved a repulsor out of the way. And I was basically just like, just so you're aware, you've moved your repulsor like this. I could drop my Centurions here. So I know you weren't I know you just wanted to move the Impulsor out of the way, but just because you may not be aware, just move your Repulsor out the way. I think those kind of things as well, it's important to kind of make sure that you're not punishing your opponent for something that either they might not know about, or, because it's such a complicated game, right?
It is. It's like one of those things where, like, having, for example, I build my list with Carbine Scourge, right, which have their pain ability is a 6-inch deep strike, right? So they can basically get really close in, and you have to screen a lot better. So if my opponent starts screening 9 inches all over the place, right? And they're like, okay, so you won't be able to drop in here, you won't be able to deep strike in here. I'm not going to let them just do that and just then go, haha,
you activated my trap card
for my 6-inch deep strike, right? I'm going to tell them right then and there when they start measuring all this stuff, hey, don't forget, I have 6-inch deep strike. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll care or that they will do something to stop the 6-inch deep strike. Sometimes the answer to that question is, or the answer to that statement is, well, I can't really stop you from doing that because I don't have enough resources. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes that's just how it is, right? But I'm not going to hope that my opponent is going to make a mistake. Now, if my opponent is not making an effort to screen at all, I'm not going to tell them. I might say, hey, don't forget I have uppy downy or whatever. You know what I mean? But, like, I'm not going to be like, hey, you should screen your backfield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, if you don't want to screen, that's fine. That's on you. But I'm not, like, at the same time, I'm not going to, like, if you're trying to screen to prevent, like, deep strikes, I'm not going to be like, okay, so you're doing the right thing by screening, Great. So I'm going to remind you that I can screen, that I can drop really close to you and stuff. And I'm going to remind you what units I have. And I'm not going to, like, withhold that information. I'm going to give you more information than you need, so that you're not caught out by it.
Yeah. I'm going to give you all the information you have access to that you may not have in your head straight away. The other thing I've found that happens quite a lot, I've done it both giving advice and taking advice, is when a game kind of gets to a point where things have got out of control one side. I've had people who are a lot better than me going, oh, you could do this. Like, I think in the first round of South Cruise Major, Ben Jones basically was just like, I got a secondary, but I can't really do that. He went, wait, you can, and he kind of helped work out the best ways to kind of basically get me more points than I could have done. And I've done that for people as well who have maybe even newer than I am, have gone, I think, again, same game. I was like, if you put your scouts here, like drop your scouts here, that blocks me from doing, like, because if I can get my Centurions there, I destroy your backline. So putting your scouts there blocks that. And having that very cooperative, open kind of conversation, both that and with playing with 10, just makes the game so much
more
nicer,
fun,
and
more
it's
enjoyable.
It's not I didn't realize how much that came into play until I started doing, like, these big tournaments, and it's so nice because you build up the rapport with your opponent, then you're just able to make sure you're both there, you're both having fun, and you're not going to these events and hoping to win based on silly mistakes, because you don't spend all that time building a list and building your models and painting to get there and go, oh, I'm just going to win by being a knobhead, essentially. It's much
exactly.
It's just the community, I think, has become, again, because I'm relatively new to this thing, you probably may have seen the evolution of kind of this competitive community.
I'm that old, Paul.
Yeah.
I'm that old.
Yeah, it's just the current like 10th edition like community that I've found it's very open and friendly. And like I say, I've not had a bad game yet. Obviously I'm not so head in the clouds as, oh, everyone's perfect. It's such an amazing community. I know how people work, and I know that some people are not so nice. But so far, that hasn't happened to me, but I imagine, it's not, this way, it's not going to kind of take away from the fact that I've had lots and lots of good experiences.
Look, and even if you run into sort of like a problematic opponent, right? At the end of the day, you get to control how you react.
Yeah.
Right? You get to control, and you get to control how you... that. And it's one of the things where, like, to be honest, I'm really happy that, number one, there's like a lot better management of behavior in terms of good judging and stuff at events now, good refs, right? And there's a much better understanding from a community perspective of what we allow as a community.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are very self-policing. We've had enough sort of like, so I want to say scandals, right? We've had enough scandals like Tony got Tony'd or water bottle gate or whatever it is that we're talking about in terms of the behavior that we do not find appropriate for our game, right? Where we get to say, hey, no, that's not cool, right? Yeah. And yes, it has, there's still folks that sort of, and we call them tryhards over here, but there's folks that try hard.
Yeah.
They're like almost at the level where they could win a GT, right? And they just are they've invested so much time and effort into it that they're just really invested in winning. You know what I mean? And that tends to be sort of like a breaking point for people where they sort of like forget like to be nice, or they just feel like they kind of have to push it a little bit past that sort of like social contract level to try and get ahead. And over time, most of those people even sort of like learn that that's just not acceptable, and they sort of like simmer down. But it happens like once in a while. You know what I mean? I can tell you stories, like tons of stories where, but at the end of the day, you, like the person who's playing, like if you have a conversation, like for example, one of the things I like doing is just to, especially if I don't really know someone, or, if someone's a little quiet, like a lot of the times playing against someone who's very quiet and just is in their head the whole time is a little bit weird for me, because I'm like trying to get them to have this conversation with me. I'm like, okay, what are you trying to do? What are you measuring? Like, let's try and have this back and forth. They're very silent and just kind of like doing their own thing. And like, okay, involve me in the process so that we can like make sure that we're on the same page, right? But some people are just very much in their brain, and by the letter of the rule, yes, you can play raw where it's like, look, Paul, if you move a unit and you move it, and you leave it somewhere and take your hand off it and then start moving another unit, you can't go back and move that unit again, right? These are chess rules, right? Which is the letter of the law when it comes to Warhammer. Like, that's how the rules are written. But if you would like to move a unit and go, oh, do you mind if I just nudge these guys just so I can fit this other model here? Like, I'll be like, absolutely. Don't worry about it. You had the movement to do that. Like, you can absolutely do that. But some people are like, no. Right. So, but that's within their right. The key is to have that conversation before you start the game.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I prefer playing a game where it's like no take specs.
Yeah.
As an example, you are well within your like right to play a game that way. Right. And we play it as it lies and no take specs. Yeah, no problem. Just don't spring it up on someone halfway through a game.
Yeah.
And don't change it from one to the other because all of a sudden you feel like you're going to lose at the end of the game. And then like you change the way you've playing the game the entire time. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Right. That's just a dick move.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's the people who winning is having that win, having that thing that says I won a GT is more important than how they get it. Like the destination is what they want, and it's one of those ones where I think again it comes up in all sorts of games and competitions where when I go into these games, I want to win because I did good. If I wanted to just get the win, I mean, I made a video about this where I said if I wanted to just win, I'd bring a gun and just threaten all my opponents and go, let me win and I'll get 5-0. Like, that's, the extreme version. But it's, it's the fact that some people will go, I just want that win. I can't bear I can't bear to have someone be better than me. So if I can just twist it in my favor and get the win, then I'll be happy. But that's not, it feels like you say, that is kind of being more policed out, which is good. Obviously, there's still those people there, but it's good that it's good that kind of has become less and less. Or at least
there's a reason why at the top tables, right, of a tournament, you get that cooperative gameplay. That's how you get to the top.
Yeah,
is by learning how to play the game, by even helping your opponent beat you. Right? And if you're that good, that's how you get to the top, right? It's about understanding that it is a cooperative game. A perfect game of Warhammer has never been played, right?
Yep.
And, when I started on this journey of like going to ITC tournaments this year and whatnot, I made a very conscious effort. Not a conscious effort, not an effort, but a conscious decision to myself that I was going to play every game as I normally do, and not let any sort of like level of pressure get to me. Whereas like even if I'm at the top of the final or whatever, I'm not going to compromise how I like to play the game and how I wish the game would be played with me at every level, which is essentially I invite you to my house and I play every competitive game that I play as if I played it in my basement with like my models and my terrain. Like you forgot to make a charge or whatever, or you forgot to shoot. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Like just don't stress about the little stuff. Like, let's just play the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's super important. And people who want to get good at the game can take note of that. You want to be good at the game, you can be a really nice person and do it at the same time. Like, it's not mutually exclusive, you know?
Yeah. Again, you're, as of when I checked, number 2 in the world. Like, it's not a mutually
I might
exclusive
not
thing.
know what I'm talking about, though.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, I think if it's one of those things, like, if you don't know what you're talking about,
number 2 in the world. Index Drukhari, number 2 in the world. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
But I mean, if you don't know what you're talking about, no one really does, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, again, like you say, we're playing toy soldiers, and I think it is good having that conversation, having it be able to be like that. I mean, we can see it from the numbers, right? Like, the number of people who are going to these tournaments now, the number of people that came up to me and said, "Oh, you know, Paul, I'm here. This is my first tournament. I started playing because of your videos." You know, that encouragement to get people into the game. And I've spoken to sorts of high level people before who have gone like, if I'm playing against someone who is new, I will just basically turn it into a coaching session with them because you don't want to go in there just like stomp someone and go, okay, haha. Like, you want to encourage people. You want, and I imagine, like I say, you do coaching and stuff. You want to share your knowledge, like as everyone, you know, I think it's fairly human nature to, if you know something, you want other people to, you know, have that knowledge. You want to share your knowledge with people so that people are more well informed. And I think it's why I say that I feel like tournaments are, even if you are not a competitively minded player, tournaments are the best place to go play Warhammer, because 1, several games of Warhammer in a day. 2,
correct,
you're just going to learn so much and just be able to get so much information and have a lot of fun doing it. And it's so the kind of the stereotypical thing you hear about it just isn't true. And the more that people share that experience, the more that people make videos about it, the more that people go to these things, and the more that spreads, the more people will understand that realistically, you know, the LGT is just full of nerds wanting to play with their Warhammer. That's it. Like,
right. We spend way too much money, time, and effort with this game in order to be grumpy sods about it.
Exactly.
I mean, like, it doesn't go, like, being grumpy at this game does not go hand in hand. You know, like, why are you wasting your time?
Exactly. It goes back to as well the, you know, people who go, oh, what about, you know, can I bring this model? Is it modeling by intent? It's like, no, because if you've spent your time and effort like making a really cool model, like, no one's going to care about its modeling by intent, because 1, it's probably worse off you anyway, but 2, when you put down this really cool, you know, kit bashed, awesomely painted captive, people don't go, oh, that looks like it's on slightly wrong base and it looks like slightly too tall. People go, that's really cool, that's awesome. Like, people are excited to play Warhammer and look at Warhammer. Like, I was playing next to the guy who brought the Thunderhawk. I was like, nice. That's so cool. Unfortunately, he was playing as a town. I think he finished his round in about an hour. But again,
it would have died instantly.
Yeah,
you know,
but again, it's just like, you can just go and have fun with whatever. And yeah, I think it's just getting that idea out is good. And I think the fact that, as you know, with the LGT and LVO being more popular, even as a spectator thing that people can watch on streams, I felt like that final at the LGT was such a perfect encapsulation, that one moment. I've said it in a video, like, this is kind of like, if you want to see how things work, like, just look at the top table and look at this. And I think that is kind of the, even from both of our perspectives,
like,
from
conversation,
from top of the ladder to, I don't know how far up that ladder I am, not very high up the ladder. It's the same experience both sides, where that is, you know, doesn't matter how good you are, we both have the same amount of fun at a tournament, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
Right? It's like, at the end of the day, we're just big children playing games,
exactly.
Right? With, like, you know, making, like, I still make, like, pew pew noises and stuff when I'm, like, playing games. You know, like, it's just natural.
Yeah.
To, like, feel like a kid while you're playing. Like, I've been playing this game since I was 12. You know, it's a long time. I'm 38 now.
Oh wow, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So
just a while for me, yeah. Because I played in, when I was a kid, I played 3rd edition. I played in quotes 3rd edition, because me and my brother would just throw models at each other and roll dice.
Are you older or younger than your brother?
I'm younger than my brother. My brother's.
I'm older than my brother. He's 2 years younger than me.
All right, so I think your brother's probably about the same age as my brother. So, because I'm 35 now, so he's 36, I think. Yeah, like, we're just playing a silly game, right? And yes, there's a competitive scene around it, but that just means there's more people to be able to play it with.
Yeah, 100%. Like, the game's exploded since, like, back, like, talk about, like, obscure games, like, back in when I started playing, you know, there was nobody that really played it unless you knew people who played it. You know what I mean? And and over time, it's now sort of become such a popular game with so many more resources than it ever had.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And you know, folks that watch it and stream it, and, you know, international circuits, and, like, it's just, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse. Like, obviously, we talked about how the internet can be very negative, but also the fact that the kind of the hobby's exploded in such a way has also led to the fact that we have the social contract has become more solidified, and there's stuff we will not tolerate, and it gets that
Correct.
becomes more and more solidified, and it just it's a double-edged sword. But the fact that it has exploded so much, and there's so many resources. I remember painting as a kid, where it's just like I didn't know about thinning paint. Like, it's mentioned maybe in a White Dwarf or a magazine somewhere, but now you go, how do I paint Warhammer? Hundreds of people out there telling you how to paint the best Warhammer you possibly can, and it's so much more accessible, and I think that's a very good thing.
Oh, it's there's no, like, this community is awesome, and the people who play and participate and make it, like, it's really the community that really makes the game what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like Games Workshop makes the models, right? But we make the game. We 100%. Make the community. We make the international, like, the internationality of it. Like, you can go to anywhere in the world and play against any person from any sort of like social background or job or anything like that, and just play a game of Warhammer. And it's like the experience will not really vary. Like, it's just we all play the same game, and it's like such a unifying feature of our like worldwide community. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely good. It's having that, like, one thing I think, especially for meeting new people, just having that baseline. We both like Warhammer. We're here to play Warhammer. Just allows into a conversation so much easier. Hopefully one day we'll be able to play against each other, and you can absolutely demolish me, because that'll be.
We will have a grand old time. Okay,
I'm sure we will.
We would make the universe shake.
Yes,
with
the
how
universe quakes.
Epic it would be. Yeah.
I honestly, I think it would be fun to play a game against you and just be like, just play one game against you, just to see how you play, and then go, okay, I'm going to go away and choose. I'm not even going to like ask about how that works. I'm just going to take the knowledge from that one game, try and see if I can do it, then come back a year later and see how far I've improved, and then be like, because even just like, playing
underneath a bridge, just being like, punching frozen pieces of meat. Until you go to beat to have a chance to face off against your rival again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That would be great. Like, if you ever want to set it up, we can set it up. Maybe the community can set it up, and we'll just make it happen.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I've played on Tabletop Simulator before. I won't do what I did with Christian von Carmion, where I tricked him and went, we're going to play a 1,000-point game of G-City Cults versus Screaming Ravens, and then during the game went, okay, I'm taking your army, and you can have all these Centurions, because he hates Centurions. So I went, here, have my Centurions, I'm taking your army, goodbye. It was very funny.
Awesome.
Again, like I say, if I did that, I'd still do. Well, I lost that game anyway, to be fair. But if I did it against you, I'd definitely lose.
We could play a list, build a list, and swap it like a warp style like list. That'd be so much fun.
There's a lot of stuff you can do.
I love that kind of tournament too, where you can actually, there's tournaments where you can build, like, you build a list, and it's a swap tournament where you build like a list and you just play the other person's list. Like, so there are events like that.
Yeah, I have a lot of silly ideas for very silly game types that I'm sure will be fun.
Silly is the way to do it, my friend.
The main one I want to do is, the twist deck that you can get. I want a twist deck, but every round you draw a new twist, but it adds. So it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
You can't shoot anything outside of 12. Oh, no.
Oh, now you have 3d6 charge. Oh, by the way, now you're all pistols. And now it just gets horrible. I imagine by the time you get to round 3, it's like, oh, we've got so many buffs now. It's just, we're all going to, it's all dead.
Oh my gosh. See, I'd do that if it was like a, say, 1,500 point tournament, right? Like if it was a smaller game, maybe on smaller tables. Yeah. You could call the event Twists and Turns 40k tournament.
That's a good idea. But no, I haven't got any other questions. Have you got anything else you want to ask? That's really fun. No, this has been really fun, Paul. I've really enjoyed hanging out with you. Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for joining. Do you want to obviously plug your social stuff? Just yell at the screen until people
can always
follow you.
Yeah, you can always find me on Scarredcast on YouTube, and all the links to everything else is right on there.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I've been doing this for 14 years now.
Damn,
going strong. Not going to stop.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me, and hope everyone at home enjoyed that. And if you did, let us know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.